What's going on, guys? Jim the Game Guru. Today's video, I'm going to do local co-op on the Nintendo Switch. I'm going to cover 38 games that you can play locally with a friend, a family member, a friend, same couch, same room, same TV. It's amazing on how many people actually don't know what games are out there that you can play locally. And I know I've covered a bunch of games with my daughter on this channel, local co-op gameplay, but I figured, you know what? Let's bring it in. Let's put it on one video. Let's start up a new series. We'll do, this can be volume 1, cover 38 games on here that have excellent co-op play, and let's run through the list. And if you guys are new to this on this channel, please subscribe. And let's fire it off with game number 1. Game number 1 is actually one of the most common games. The first two actually are going to be like no-brainers. First one being the new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe on the Nintendo Switch. It was a port from the Wii U. That game is platforming at its best with Super Mario. It's traditional Super Mario, and ton of levels on that. Great for kids. Well, the nice thing about kids in this version is that you have a character that even if you're playing with somebody who's really young, like a 3-year-old or 4-year-old or whatever, they could play using a character that doesn't die as much. That character is Nabbit. So it's great for all ages. Great pickup for local co-op, especially with kids. The second one, very kid-friendly game. Another super huge popular title. That one being Minecraft. I mean, who doesn't know Minecraft, right? One of the biggest games. Even if you were hiding somewhere, you would eventually find somebody walking across the street with wearing a Minecraft shirt. And Minecraft is huge. It's a sandbox building game where you're in the world. You can build houses, castles, whatever you want to do. And you can play split screen on the Nintendo Switch. You will need a Microsoft account and a Nintendo Switch Online account if you want to play from system to system cooperatively with Minecraft. Game number 3, and this is a title that I recently picked up. I'm having a blast with it. It is Mechstermination Force, and it is basically Shadow of the Colossus. You take Shadow of the Colossus, and you, instead of it being like this beautiful 3D world like in Shadow of the Colossus, you have it more of a 2D scroller, and instead of like these giant beasts, they're giant robots. And you make it kind of arcade-like. And there you go. That's Mechstermination Force. It is. I was actually surprised. I picked it up on sale, and it turned out to be way better than I thought. And I'm enjoying it. I am seriously enjoying it. You're not gonna go. It's not a game you're gonna play for like story or for very crazy mechanics in the game, the complex strategy. It is very simple arcade, take down giant robots, beautiful. Game number 4, I'm going to do Lovers in a Dangerous Space-Time. This one, another great pickup. This one's actually better with 4 players. I feel like 2 players co-op, you can do 2-player co-op on this, but it's very, very challenging with 2-player co-op because you're in a ship and you need to navigate a ship through space in order and being able to drive the ship and man the guns. There's 4 guns on a ship. Enemies come from everywhere, and it's really, really challenging with 2 people because with 2 people you have to constantly get up and move around the entire ship in order to handle all aliens everywhere and being able to drive it. So even though you can play with 2-player co-op, this title is actually best probably with 3 or 4 people. But it's actually a fantastic game. The theme is kind of cheesy. It's about love. There's love out there. It's been shattered, and we need to regain the love. but it's a good title. Great little local co-op. Game number 5 on the list, Inferno 2. Inferno 2 is, best way to explain it is you take Geometry Wars, you make it kind of flat, and that's it. Make it flat. You have a bunch of shapes that you're shooting. You're in like this. Each board has got like this kind of neon glow to it with these shapes. A lot of the shapes are more round than they are like triangle or anything like that. Because I know in Geometry Wars you like a lot of triangle and squares and stuff. A lot of the shapes within Inferno 2 are actually round, and it is a shooter, twin stick shooter. Fantastic game. I absolutely love Inferno 2. It's actually very, very well priced. You can play 2-player cooperatively. The first player being like a blue ship sphere, and the second player being an orange. And the music in this game is actually pretty solid. It's got like this really killer kind of like drum and bass, like electric thing throughout a lot of the levels, and I absolutely enjoy it. I haven't played a co-op yet. I've done a video where I played single player, but I'm gonna do another video when I play a co-op. It's actually a really, really solid title. 6th game, and Assault Android Cactus. Wow, that game is. I absolutely love that title. It's another twin stick shooter. It's about androids on a ship, and you basically go through the ship and you go through separate cores on the ship, fighting multiple stages, and then reaching a boss on each zone. So there's 5 zones in that game. Multiple androids you can get in there. Each one has different weapon sets, and it's just so much fun. You can play up to 4 people on that. I have done that with single and 2-player. Great game to play locally. Without a doubt, take a look at it. It's very highly rated on Metacritic too. It's Assault Android Cactus. Amazing. Oh, next one's number 7 on the list. Untitled Goose Game. Untitled Goose Game. Now, this is probably one of the most popular indie titles out there. People went bananas bonkers when it first came out. They loved like the whole theme, how cute it was, being the goose, running around, chasing, solving puzzles. Now, recently, in September, they released an update to the game that allows you to play 2 players. I have been going through it with my daughter, and we have already done, I think I've done 3 videos on it. And we're on this 4th section now, but it is fun trying to figure out the puzzles. You have a list, so when you're in the game, you have a list of things you have to do in each stage, and every time you do one of those things, like whatever like chaos you're causing, like hey, stealing somebody's keys, or making like taking the hat off of somebody, or making this one person do this, or whatever. You have this list, and just trying to figure out how to make the other NPCs in the stage do what you want to do, and hitting those objectives is so much fun. My daughter and I are having a blast with it. Untitled Goose Game, an amazing game, local co-op. All right, number 8 on the list. What do we got here? Door Kickers Action Squad, a game where you basically are police force. You are a certain type of squad member. Like you can be a breacher or a tactical person. I can't remember all the different types, but you pick somebody, and then you and a teammate go in and try to infiltrate different rooms and rescue hostages and clear out all the bad guys. The hostages can die, so trying to clear out the levels without killing hostages and getting through it as quickly as possible. It does have a 3-star mechanic, but the pixel art is wonderful on it, and it is just highly enjoyable. Great gameplay, controls are fantastic, and it's fairly inexpensive. That's Door Kickers Action Squad. Highly recommend that one. Okay, number 9th on the list. This game, dude, I cannot believe that I haven't heard more about this game. and it's Heave Ho. My daughter and I absolutely love Heave Ho. Now, I will be honest. I passed on this game for so long on the eShop. I thought it was absolute total garbage because it looks like garbage. It absolutely looks like garbage. And I took a gamble one day. It was only a few dollars to pick it up. It's actually a fairly cheap game, even when it's not on sale. And I have to say, I've had such a blast. I don't think I've ever had a local co-op game, make me laugh so much like Heave Ho has made me laugh. It is just, it's phenomenal. All you are is a head with arms. And in each level, you have to try to get coins and dump the coins inside to a finish line and get everyone across the fastest time as possible. And it gets to a point where you have this hysteria because you're just like, oh my god, I can't do it. I don't know what to do. And when you fail, it just makes you laugh. We've had such a great time with Heave Ho. Amazing game, cheap game. If it doesn't look at like something fun to pick up based on the way it looks, because I said before it looks like garbage visually, then definitely when it goes on sale, pick it up if you want a good local co-op game. Next one, 10th on the list, PikuNiku. This game was another surprise. Absolutely enjoy it. Now, the main game with PikuNiku is not 2-player at all. It's not zero local play, but there is a mode. There is a co-op mode in the game where it has like something like around 8 levels or something, and each one of those levels are pretty decent in size, and you have to go through that level with a teammate and try to get to the very end and try to get there with the best time. I can't remember if there's things you have to do as far as achievements in that co-op mode, but yeah, I was absolutely surprised by that. It's such a cute game, fantastic. I enjoyed that. That's actually another one that's really cheap on the eShop. Okay, the 11th game on my list here. What do we have? It is Lego City Undercover. That one is it's like one of the Lego games. A lot of Lego games are those 3D games where you go through and you have like this cheesy story. Or a lot of the Lego games are actually based off of themes. So like there's like a Batman one. There's a Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and what they do is they go through that same kind of story, but just in the Lego universe. Lego City Undercover. You're in this giant Lego city, and there's crime, and you need to figure out who the bad guy is. It's got a lot of like those stupid humor in it. But right from the very beginning, when you jump into the world, you can have a teammate join in. It will do split screen vertically, so that left and right side of the TV. But another fun game. If you're big into Legos, myself, I'm not huge into Legos. We ran through one video with this game. It was alright. It was pretty fun. We played together co-op. But I'm not a huge fan of Lego games, just because they're a little easy, and when you factor in the cheesy and easy. But for kids or anybody who really likes Legos and you don't care about the difficulty, you just want to jump in with a buddy and just kind of go through and just mess around and break things, solve some quests here and there, some missions. It's a great local co-op pickup. Okay, Double Dragon 4 is the 12th item on the list. That one is bringing it back old school. I wouldn't say that's definitely not one of the better ones on the list. It's very, very old school. It's going back to the days of the original like Nintendo. It's got that old Nintendo style graphics. Story super cheesy. But if you just want a brawler that is that you just want to mess around with, and you want to kind of relive those old classic NES days and play co-op, there you go. If you love the Double Dragon days, you want to play some co-op with a friend, just jump in Double Dragon 4, and you should be able to do 2-player easily co-op. Alright, so the next one, 13th on the list. This one is one that I picked up about a couple days ago, and I'm actually enjoying it. I think it's another indie title. It's very pixel art based. It was on the Partners Showcase on the latest Nintendo Direct, and it's Part-Time UFO. Part-Time UFO is got some major charm to it. Got great music, great pixel art. It's super cute, and it's got local co-op for 2 players. I ran through one video with my daughter. It was fun, highly enjoyable, and we're definitely going to go through some more videos with it. I highly recommend that one. That one's Part-Time UFO. If you like indie titles and you don't mind the pixel art stuff, you don't mind like the really simple kind of pixel art indie titles, that's a great one to play cooperatively. Item 14th is Crypt of the Necrodancer, or Cadence of Hyrule. Cadence of Hyrule is basically Crypt of the Necrodancer with a Zelda theme, and you're going through a Zelda adventure in Cadence of Hyrule. It depends on kind of which one you would like to do. They're both rhythm-based games where you have to navigate your character through a rhythm-based kind of environment and defeat enemies. And Crypt of the Necrodancer is actually, it's fantastic. It's got great music. I'm sure Cadence is the same way. I haven't played Cadence yet. The only reason why I haven't played Cadence yet is because it's just so expensive. I think it's way overpriced. But I have Crypt, and I know pretty much from based on Crypt what Cadence is going to be like. If you want the cheaper version, go with Crypt. But if you want the more expensive, and you have to have Zelda, you need to have Zelda. You need to have all the add-ons. Then go with Cadence. But that one you should be able to do 2-player, no problem, through a random generated levels with great music, and it's all rhythm based, and yeah, local co-op. It's actually a fantastic game. I've done local co-op on that one quite a few times. Okay, item 15. What do we got? Tiny Barbarian DX. Think of Conan the Barbarian, but these little pixelized versions, and you're going through levels. It's a lot of platforming. You're going from one area of the map to the very end, and you're just kind of going through these little barbarians and killing enemies and trying to make your way through it. It's full co-op. You can actually ride little beasts you find in the levels. The music's pretty solid. The volume is a little jacked up though. I don't know why, but for some reason I feel like the game has a lot louder volume when you're playing it. But it is local co-op, 2 players. Another great pickup. I do feel like it's a little expensive though, so if you end up going for that one as a local co-op game, make sure you pick up Tiny Barbarian on a sale. I think normally it goes for $30. I feel like it should be more of a $15 title at regular price. Okay, what's the next one? 16th on the list, Minecraft Dungeons. I absolutely enjoy Minecraft Dungeons. I think they did a fantastic job on Minecraft Dungeons. It is a dungeon crawler, kind of like Diablo, but in the Minecraft universe. You can get loot. There's 3 different levels of difficulty. You have the default adventure, and I think it's the Apocalypse, I believe, is the last. I saw something about Apocalypse Plus too. I don't know if that's like a 4th one they're going to bring into the game, but a lot of looting, a lot of dungeon crawling. There is a way you can create multiple characters too. I don't know why. I feel like it's kind of stupid to have multiple characters in that game, because you can just switch your armor and your weapons so easily with a single character. It's kind of pointless. But there is co-op play on that. But yeah, a great game, Minecraft Dungeons. If you like dungeon crawling and looting and you like the Minecraft universe, that is a great local co-op game. 17th, Unraveled 2. Man, what a beautiful game. That game, it's all puzzle solving. You are 2 yarn characters. You have to make your way through each of the levels. And what's happening is you're like in this you're experiencing like this past kind of, I wouldn't say past life, kind of well, as you're going through the levels of these yarn characters, you see other people in the background, and you see kind of like stories of people kind of going through like this struggle, I guess you can say. And you're at the main hub is like a lighthouse, and in that lighthouse you have like 7 different worlds, and then you have to go through 7 different worlds and solve puzzles. And the way you solve the solving of the puzzles requires you to get from one end to the other, both of the characters from one end to the other, and you have to use each one of the yarn characters in a specific way to help each other out. And I absolutely enjoy that game. It is amazing. If you have not played Unraveled 2, and it's cheap. I can't believe it because it's an EA title and it's cheap. EA doesn't do that. And my daughter and I went through all 7 worlds and we loved it. And it's got a great message. I don't want to give away the message in the game, but it's actually a fantastic message. Going through there and beating it and seeing the message at the end was great. 18th. Dun, 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 what do we got here? Moving out, another Team 17 game. And in that game, you're playing cooperatively to move furniture and other things from a house and into a truck. And you have to do it in a certain time. And you also have to meet certain objectives. Either certain things need to be thrown in the truck, or maybe I think one of the objectives in one of the levels like shooting a ball into a net. But it tells you in the when you're starting each level what objectives you need to do. But that one is actually Team 17 does a really awesome job with local co-op games, and it's actually one of the harder ones. I played a bunch of other Team 17 games, but that one is actually one of the harder ones. Because we could never get the gold. I don't think I've ever gotten gold once when we played cooperatively. But it's challenge. If you want a challenge and a really quirky and interesting game with moving people out of their houses, and that is it. Moving out. Okay, number 19th, Streets of Rage 4. Yes, the brawler is back. The old classic brawler is back. With this time with a nice smooth look on it. Cartoon. You still got that sweet cartoon look. The old ones being, of course, on the Genesis, and they're very pixelated. But man, what a great game. Spot on controls. Story is okay, but you can play up to 4 people, and actually no, you can play 3 people, I believe, on that one. You might be able to get a 4th. I've done 3, and I think you can probably get a 4th on there. So 4 people on the same level, battling it out, brawling, getting through one area to another. There's so many bosses in that game. Each level will have some kind of big boss you got to beat at the end. Awesome game though. Streets of Rage 4. Okay, 20th. What do we got? Pac-Man Championship Edition 2. If you like Pac-Man, it's actually Pac-Man on steroids. Pac-Man on steroids, and you're taking drugs at the same time. That is Pac-Man Champion Edition 2. It's all neon craziness, co-op. So you're 2, and the thing I like about this Pac-Man version is you can actually help each other. So if somebody gets caught by a ghost, then you can actually help them recover. You work with a teammate to get the highest score possible. Awesome levels, and it's a hell of a blast. It's awesome. Highly recommend that. Okay, this one here is a shocker for me. The next one, 21. Pang Adventures. I never thought ever. I mean, I played a few Pang games in my life. I never ever thought that Pang Adventures would be an awesome co-op game on the Nintendo Switch. Highly enjoyable arcade action. There's not a ton of variety of weapons. I think there's like 5 or 6 different weapons you can get in the game. There's like a story mode type thing where you're going from the very beginning, and all these aliens kind of land on Earth, and you go from the first stage where you have several stages before you get to a boss stage, and then you go to the next stage with several stages, and it's a boss. So you have these different areas that you go to, like in different cities and different countries, until eventually you get to the last zone where you have to fight a bunch of levels and then beat the last Grand Master alien. It's all about beating these aliens that come down with their UFOs. But this is one of the first games that I beat on the Nintendo Switch. My daughter and I went through it. It was actually when I first started my channel back in May. It's one of the first games that I played. And awesome. It's a super shocker. If you're looking for something fun to play with a teammate, local play, kids will get it too. I would say maybe the youngest kid that can probably play this might be about 7 or 8. But if you have a 7 or 8-year-old or higher, then you're fine. Pang Adventures, great local co-op game. Definitely check it out. 22. Oh man, 22. This is probably one of the most popular local co-op games out there. Yes, it's another indie title, but fantastic. Team 17, and this is Overcooked. Overcooked, and then there's also Overcooked 2. So I could say this list is actually 39 games, but I'm going to group them together. Overcooked and Overcooked 2. Intense local co-op up to 4 players. You basically have to run around a kitchen and you make orders, complete orders, and deliver the orders for customers that demand certain type of meals. And it's fun. It's frustrating as hell too sometimes, because this is probably the game that you will blame your teammate the most. Like, why are you doing that? Why are you grabbing that? Don't go over there. What's going on? It's one of those games, but man, is it fun. When you end up nailing that level with 3 stars, man, it's a great feeling. And that's probably kind of the drawback with the game, is it's got that 3 stars gimmicky thing, but it's still fantastic, and getting 3 stars feels really, really rewarding in that. Okay, dun dun dun. The next one is 23, Skyforce Reloaded. If you guys are into shooters, Skyforce Reloaded is basically you're in a ship and you have to get through different levels and fight bosses at the end of the levels. And it's your classic shooter. You go through, you shoot enemies, you pick up stars, and you have 4 different objectives on each level. One is to not get touched. Another one is to rescue all hostages. Then another one is shooting every single enemy on the screen. And I can't remember the other one. I think the other one's it's like points. Like if you get a certain amount of points or something. I can't remember. But there's 4 objectives on each one. And you have to try to go through and try to nail each one with 100% if you can. I mean, you don't have to. You can beat the levels without getting each one of the objectives and just proceed on. But it's a solid shooter, and you can play 2 players, and it's fun. It's fun. It does get a little grindy though later on. Like at first when you play the game, you're leveling up, you're getting all these levels, and then later on the upgrades for a lot of your stuff, like your missiles or your lasers or whatever, it costs so much, and you've got most of the levels beat, and then you still have like these ones at the end that you have to beat that are kind of really, really hard. And it's such a grind to get some of the upper level upgrades. So that's one of my biggest complaints of the game. But if you want a shooter that plays with local co-op, there you go, Skyforce Reloaded. Okay, number 24th, which is probably one of the funniest ones on the list. Broforce. This game, my God, it had me cracking up so much. Like there's these references in the game where it would just bring all these old like 90s bad guys into the game, like RoboCop and Dirty Harry and Mr. T and just the Judge Dredd and all these different types of characters, and they would rename them like in a bro name. Super fun to play, great co-op play, and it's just it's a riot. I actually had a blast playing that game. 25th, Conduct Together. Conduct Together, man, that is a tough game. This is probably one of the most frustrating games on the list. It looks good. It's a puzzle. You basically have trains where you have to go from one end to the other and deliver passengers, and you have to do that as efficiently as possible. And I had one long video with my daughter playing that, and some of the levels trying to deliver all of the right stations, because there's different colors with a lot of your trains, and trying to control each train, because there's so many different trains. And that's why it's called Conduct Together, because it's easier when certain people control certain checkpoints of how a train should, which rail a train should go down, and it can get frustrating. It's very frustrating, but it's a fun little puzzle game. If you like trains and puzzles and you don't mind a little bit of the frustration, it's a good local co-op game. Okay, 26, probably one of the most unusual games. It is another shooter. It's called Dimension Drive. It's a shooter, and the reason why I say it's unusual is because it uses two sides of the screen. You have a left side of the screen, you have a right side of the screen, and you can actually move your ship from left to right. So there's a way that you can kind of like beam your ship back and forth, and sometimes you have to do that in order to avoid obstacles on one side to the other. And then there's also things that you have to pick up on one side, so you have to move over to the one side to get it. You can play it single player if you want, but there's also an option to play with a friend or a family member, local co-op. Dimension Drive, a very interesting shooter. All right, 27th on the list, Lode Runner Legacy. Man, I am a Lode Runner fan. I love Lode Runner. I love the old classic Lode Runners. And Lode Runner Legacy it has the classic Lode Runner levels that I loved as a kid. So I'm able to go through there and play them and try to beat them as efficiently as possible to get all the stars. But it also has this newer kind of adventure mode type Lode Runner where it's 3D. Well, I wouldn't say full 3D. It's kind of like 2.5D. But each player, so you can play local co-op on that. Each player is a character on there, and you try to go through the level and get all of the coins in order to open up the escape to the level. The more efficient you are with it, as far as time and getting everything, single coin and even bonus coins on the level, the better the score you'll get. So if you like puzzle, if you like Lode Runner action, if you've ever played Lode Runner, it's a good time. I have that kind of that nostalgia feeling for Lode Runner, but if you don't have that nostalgia feeling for it and we've never really played it, it may be one of the games on the list that you may not want to pick up. You may want to get one of the other ones on the list, just because. And it's not that it's a bad game. It's just because it's easier to get into Lode Runner when you've had that experience already playing it as a child, or in a previous, on a previous console or whatever. But still, even if you haven't, it's still a good game. But I think some of the other games would probably be better to get first before this one. But it's an option. It is out there. Lode Runner Legacy. I absolutely love it. But then again, I am biased toward that game. 28th on a list, Bug Butcher. Okay, so this is probably the worst one on this list, because I think that the local co-op on this game is probably the worst. And the reason why I have it on my list is because you can play local co-op. The big downer with this Bug Butcher, and the reason why I say it's the worst one on the list is because the local story, the actual story in the game, is not available in local co-op. I mean, PikuNiku was the same way, but I think with Bug Butcher, it needed to have local co-op in the story because the modes that are available for the co-op portion are not as good as being in the actual story. But it's on this list because it's another option on the Nintendo Switch for a local co-op game. It's kind of like you're in a room, you're like an extermination guys, and you go back and forth, and you have to kill bugs inside of a room, and you need to basically do it without dying. But yeah, that's Bug Butcher. I actually feel it's a little mobile in a way but it wasn't like Android platforms and stuff. But still, it's not a bad option. I do think it's probably one of the lower options on this list, but yeah, Bug Butcher is 28th on the list. 29th. This one is kind of a I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like a pixel, well, not a pixel art. I forget what the name they call that kind of world. Like, I think they were calling it voxel or something. It's basically kind of like a boxy world where it's almost like Minecraft in a way, and it's Riverbond. So Riverbond is 29th on this list. You can play up to 4 people. You're these cute little characters. You go through this little tiny little world, or it's not really an open world or anything. It's more like stages, and you're like in one little area of a stage. You complete an objective. You open up a door. You go to the next part of the stage. You complete the objective. You keep doing that. You keep doing that until you get to a boss. And there are a few bosses. I think there's like 9 or 10 bosses. And you're playing the world for that boss. And when you get in there and you play it, you're trying to get the highest score possible. So the only replay value in this game that I feel is if you need to unlock additional items, or if you're trying to beat your previous score. For kids, my kids actually love it. I mean, I don't have that big of an attachment on it because it's very, very simple. But my kids absolutely love Riverbond. They like going through there. They like that boxy kind of world, and I think my son likes it more than my daughter. But yeah, it's another good option, especially for children. And that is Riverbond, number 29th. All right, 30th on the list. This one here is, well, it's another popular one. It's one that's been around forever. And that is Diablo 3, AAA title. It is an older title, another juicy port on the Nintendo Switch. But it is, I mean, what can you say? It's Diablo 3. It's a dungeon explorer, dungeon crawler. You get tons of loot. You can increase your difficulty as you go through the game. So it's one of those games that you can beat over and over and over again, and you just kind of increase the difficulty every single time to get better and better and better loot. When I went through there, I played it, and I feel like on that one, I just kind of just wanted to beat it. It's not a game that I would want to play over and over again, but it's an awesome option if you want local co-op. You can get to 4 players in there to go through and try to beat the devil. Diablo 3 on the Nintendo Switch. It plays well on Nintendo Switch too. 31. Here's a game from Nicholas. Remilore. It's an anime-style game where it is a dungeon crawler. You're in this kind of these worlds, these stages where you have robots, and you go through with this character that finds a book, and you're trying to restore this world to glory, and you have magic from your book, as well as normal kind of melee attacks from your weapons. And got quite a bit of variety in it as far as different types of weapons you can get, and the spells are not so much. There's I would say probably like, I don't know, 7 or 8 different types of spells, but those are kind of dictated by the weapon you are equipped with. But it does have a co-op version. There is a story, one-player story, and then they have a co-op where you can play with a friend, and that is without the story. I haven't done the co-op version yet, and the reason why I haven't done the co-op version yet is because it will wipe out the save file for my my story for my single player, and I don't know why they only have one save in that game, which is kind of weird. So it would be nice if you had multiple saves files, so that you can play the co-op if you wanted to, and still have your first player, your single player story mode intact. But yeah, it's Remilore. It's another good option if you guys like dungeon crawlers and you just want anime style. You can play that local co-op. Next one, 32, Victor Vran Overkill Edition. Victor Vran Overkill Edition. Now that one is basically, how do I explain that? It's kind of like it's almost like a poor man's Diablo, I guess. It's a dungeon explore. It's another dungeon crawler, but just a little different. You have different types of enemies. You have spiders and skeletons, and you're not going to have the same kind of creatures you would in Diablo 3. Lots of different types of loot you can get with weapons and outfits and armor, and yeah, I mean, I played it for a little while co-op with my friend. We had a pretty decent time with it. We never actually beat it. We probably got through about like 25% of the game, and then we stopped playing it. But it is highly rated. It's one day I think I'll go back and finish it. It's kind of one of the ones that slipped off my radar since I've been playing some of these other titles. But that's Victor Vran if you want another kind of dungeon crawler in a way. Isometric view, then it's a good option. The one thing I would say though, I think the visuals on that game for Victor Vran are they're very lacking. They're not very clear, which drives me nuts. I think with Diablo 3, they were able to get the visuals a little clearer than Victor Vran, and maybe that's one of the reasons why and I'm not big into having visuals rule the game. I think I'm big into having gameplay rule the game, story, characters, etc. But I think the graphics on that one are just so muddled that it kind of hurt it a little bit. But it's another great option if you want another dungeon crawler and you want a local co-op game. Then there you go, Victor Vran Overkill Edition. Another one. Number 33, Ninth Dawn 3. Ninth Dawn 3. This one is actually, dude, I love this game. I love Ninth Dawn 3. It's kind of, it looks like an older style game, kind of like an Ultima game, but it's got several things mixed with it. It's kind of like an older Ultima game mixed with like hack and slash, mixed with twin stick shooter, because the way you move in that game is very twin stick like. Your left analog moves, your right analog controls where you're swinging your melee weapons and your wand and your magic. But it's actually really, really well done. It's very pixel art based. There's a lot into it. You can capture creatures. You can go through like these dungeons and crawl through and find treasure. There's lots of treasure you can find. The game's. I mean, that's one of the things in the description. The game boasts on how many items and treasures and stuff you can find. It is challenging, I would say, considering I'm in like the mid-20s levels so far. And yet, even though I'm in mid-20 level, I still haven't even scratched the surface on the game. It's crazy. Like, it is crazy. Which makes me think, what is the highest level you can get in that game with your character? But yeah, that one, it is local co-op in that game. You can with your main character, you can actually find other characters that will join your party, and then on top of that, you can have your friend jump in with a separate controller with their own character. You can do local co-op, 2 players on that, and yeah, it's an awesome game. I absolutely love that. It is a little bit more involved. Like, it's not something that's like very visual, that's going to show you things visually. Oh, you go here, go do this, and go do that. It is like, when I say like old school Ultima, it's kind of like that, where you have to read a lot of things, like wherever you're at, you have to read the dialogue closely, you have to read instructions closely. There's a lot of reading, investigating, and searching around. But it's a fantastic game. I like that one a lot. 34th on the list, Aqua Kitty UDX. Yeah, this one, man, Aqua Kitty this is one of my first videos on my channel. This was before I was able to even really speak on my videos. I felt like I had like a giant sandbag hooked to my Adam's apple, and I was having the hardest time getting my words out, and my audio was complete total shit, and it was one of the first type videos that I pushed out. But Aqua Kitty UDX is amazing. I love that game. The game plays like Defender. I don't know if anybody's ever played the old classic Defender. It's very pixel art. And Defender, what that was you were in space, and then there's like the little Martians that come down, and there are UFOs, and try to pick up your people and take them off and take off with them, right? This is kind of the same way, but you're in water. So you're in water, you're in these little subs, and you have these little kittens at the bottom, and you need to prevent the enemies from coming down and snatching them. And there's so many enemies in the water in some of these stages that it's very, very hard to survive. But it is a game you can play local co-op, and you and another person can be 2 kitties in the water, in subs, playing Defender-style game. But it's fantastic. There's not a whole lot of variety with weapons and stuff like that. It is probably one of the few games that on this list that have zip variety for weapons. I think there's like 3 different type of like guns you can get. Like you can get one gun that goes left and right at the same time, then another one that spreads, and then another one that gives you like those extra like wing guns. But that's it. There's nothing else beyond that. But it's a great game. I love the music in that game. It's absolutely fantastic. Great local co-op game. Okay, 35th on the list, Rayman Legends. All right, if you're into platforming and you want something other than New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, there's Rayman Legends. Rayman Legends looks fantastic. It's got great art to it. I like the characters in the game. I mean, as far as how they look, the levels are just beautiful. They're freaking gorgeous. But Rayman Legends is so many levels. Oh my god. There are so many levels in that game. It is worth the money. But that one gives you, I believe that one goes up to 4 people local co-op. But yeah, if you're into Rayman, or even if you're not into Rayman, you're just into platforming, it is a great pickup. That is like for platforming enthusiasts. Multiplayer, there you go, local co-op. The one downside of that game that drives me insane is you can unlock a bunch of characters, right? But the characters, they're only different by how they look. So it's more like skins in a way, rather than actually being different characters. And I really, really, really wish they would have made each one of the characters you unlocked have special, like, different abilities. That would have been super awesome. But it's not like that, unfortunately. But yeah, platforming game. You basically go in, you try to rescue king, queen, and all their pawns. And there's a bunch of kind of like these gold. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played it. I can't remember what those little gold things you're trying to pick up throughout the level are called. But that's how you kind of get like the highest trophies in each of the levels. Okay, 36 River City Girls. So River City Girls Brawler. If you like, it's in the River City Ransom kind of universe, but this time instead of rescuing the girls, the guys get kidnapped. Your two girls, you have to rescue their boyfriends, and you go through this area of the town and beating up different characters, and you're going on this little mini adventure trying to find out who has your boyfriends, trying to rescue them, and you're visiting malls and shops, and you're out in the streets kicking butt. The pixel art is fantastic. The music in that game is just bonkers good. But local co-op, it is fun. You can actually get a bunch of different moves for each of your characters. Killer moves. And in that game, it tells you how to actually perform each move, and they're pretty easy. But yeah, local co-op, 2 players on that game, amazing brawler. I actually like River City Girls more than I do Streets of Rage 4. I mean, that's how good it is. It's really, really solid. 37 is Huntdown. Alright, Huntdown. You're bounty hunters. It's a pixel art bounty hunter game. It's not the hardest game so far to play. I've gone through a few of the earlier stages. I think I'm on the second zone now. And some of the bosses were kind of challenging, but for the most part, the challenge is pretty decent. It's not too hard, not too soft. There are a couple the checkpoints in that game though are just spot on. So when you get to a certain checkpoint, you don't have to go back like a couple of sections prior and then get to like the boss. Usually if you get to a boss, you can replay the boss over and over and over and over and over again until you beat them. So I like the checkpoints. They've done a great job with it. The pixel art is fantastic. You're basically you're bounty hunters. You go through these streets, killing these different dudes as you're going through, and then you get to a boss. And there's multiple bosses. It's not just like one giant level and then you hit a boss at the end. There are multiple bosses at different checkpoints throughout each zone. There are a bunch of cheesy sayings like phrases and quotes in the game, which I guess it kind of puts as part of the theme of the game. It's all right, I guess, but for me, it's like whatever. It's there, but they're just not funny. I think maybe they tried to make them funny, but other than that, though, the gameplay is solid. It's good. It's another good, solid local co-op game. Okay, for the last one, what is the last game, Jim? Tell me now. The last one is Sonic Mania. You can actually play co-op on that, one person being Sonic, the other person being Tails. The annoying part of this game, though, is that whoever Sonic is got the viewport of the game, the view screen. So if you're Tails, you can actually fly off the edge of the screen, even though Sonic is not going with you. But other than that, though, you can both play, easily. One being Sonic, one being Tails. Sonic is. I feel like the Sonic game is better probably as a single player game. But it's an option. It's an option. It is definitely an option to play co-op on it. And if you're in the same room and somebody doesn't want to watch you play Sonic, and you're monopolizing the TV, you can throw them a controller and say, "All right, man, come on, just join in with me. You can be Tails, whatever." But that's it, man. This is my volume 1 of this video. 38 games, local co-op on the Nintendo Switch. Some of these games, I feel like a lot of these games are really, really fun games. Some of these games really surprised me, and I have fun with most of these titles, and I have each one of these on a video. I do have most of these on co-op videos. Some of them I'm doing like a single player, but that's it. That is 38 local co-op games. I will build a list for volume 2 of a video and maybe I'll release it like in a month or whatever, as I rack up more additional co-op games that I've discovered. But there are so many co-op games, local co-op games on the Nintendo Switch. It's crazy. I mean, I don't even think I've scratched. Well, I can't say I didn't scratch the surface, but I think I've got a good chunk. But there's probably like double or triple this list on the Switch so far. And yeah, it's an awesome machine. I love the Switch, and I love it for its local co-op playing. And I will catch you guys later. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this video. This is the first time I've done a video like this. I don't know if I'm butchering it or what, but I would love to hear your comment and your feedbacks on it. See you guys.